The story begins at an American football game. The blue team needs 2 more points to win, but the white team has a player named Jake who keeps stopping their attacks. A player named Moore tries to provoke Jake to make him lose his temper by saying terrible things about Jake's father. Jake gets angry and starts fighting with him. Because of their fight, players from both teams begin brawling with each other. Afterward, Jake goes into the locker room where one of his friends invites him to a party, but Jake refuses because he is moving to another state. His friend tells him not to get into fights there and to take care of himself. Later, Jake returns home. His family consists of his mother and his younger brother. His mother is upset because Jake got into a fight during the game. She tells him that she doesn't want him causing any more trouble in their new state. Then she orders him to help his younger brother Charlie pack his belongings into a box. Jake isn't happy about having to take responsibility for his brother. On top of that, they have to move to another state because Charlie will be training at a tennis academy there. Charlie accidentally drops a box filled with their father's old belongings. When Jake picks up his father's jersey, he remembers the memories they shared together. He then decides to throw the box away because he doesn't want to remember anything about his father anymore. After that, they travel and arrive in Orlando. Jake starts attending his new high school. During lunch, he can't find an empty seat, so he goes to the stadium bleachers and eats by himself. While he's there, he sees a black student punching another student repeatedly. Jake decides to step in and punches the black student, but the student Jake was trying to defend suddenly punches him as well. Jake doesn't understand why he hit him. Then he sees the student join them again. It turns out they were having a fair fight, but because of what Jake did, a student named Ryan looks at him with a look that doesn't seem promising. Later during class, the teacher asks the students a question, but no one answers. The teacher then asks a beautiful girl named Baha Miller, but she doesn't know the answer either. Jake steps in and answers the question for her. After school, Miller thanks Jake for helping her. The two introduce themselves to each other and exchange admiring glances. But then Miller's friends arrive, take her with them, and leave. Jake returns home, and his mother asks him how his first day at school went. Jake mocks what she says because he still isn't happy that they moved to another state. His mother reminds him that he is always getting into fights and that she has had to pick him up from the police station 6 different times. Their conversation goes badly as usual, and Jake leaves and walks away. The next day at school, the student Jake defended yesterday, Max, comes over and sits with him. Max tells Jake, "I know who you are. You used to play American football and you recently moved here." Jake is surprised and asks, "How do you know that?" Max tells him that he saw a video of Jake getting into a fight online. The video went viral, and now everyone at school knows who he is. Then Max shows Jake a video of the fighting gym where he trains and invites him to come train with him because he thinks Jake has excellent fighting skills. Jake refuses because he isn't interested in fighting. He also notices that everyone at school knows who he is now and keeps staring at him because of the video of his recent fight. Later, Miller meets Jake and hands him a piece of paper with the address of a party that will be held that night. She tells him, "See you at the party," and Jake agrees to go because of her. He returns home feeling happy, changes his clothes, and gets ready for the party. That night, Jake arrives at the party and meets Max. The two become friends. Jake is amazed by the size of the house, and it turns out that it belongs to Ryan. Ryan greets Jake, welcomes him, and starts talking to him about fighters because Ryan is very interested in anything related to fighting. Ryan then takes him to watch a fight taking place in the backyard and tells Jake that anyone is allowed to fight there and that there are no rules or referees. A moment later, Jake is happy to see that Miller has arrived at the party, but Ryan tells him that the main event of the night is going to be a fight between the two of them. Jake refuses and tells him, "I don't fight." Ryan ignores what he says and starts getting ready, while everyone at the party is excited for the fight. Ryan tells Jake, "If you want to be the best, then you have to beat me." Jake keeps telling him, "I don't want to fight." Ryan replies, "If you really don't want to fight, then why did you come to the party?" Jake looks at Miller because she is the reason he came to the party. Ryan then walks over to Miller and makes it clear that they are dating. The look on Miller's face shows that she never intended to bring Jake there just to fight. Jake gets upset and is about to leave, but someone stops him. Ryan is determined to fight Jake. He keeps provoking him by talking about his father's death, saying that he crashed into a tree and died while he was drunk. Jake gets furious after hearing that and finally decides to fight Ryan. He puts on the gloves and gets ready. Jake attacks Ryan quickly, but Ryan takes control of the fight and slams Jake's face into the ground. Jake gets back up, but Ryan lands a fast kick. Jake starts bleeding, loses consciousness, and his friend Max carries him away and takes him home. The next morning, Charlie walks into Jake's room and sees the injuries on his face. Jake asks him not to tell their mother anything, and Charlie agrees. At the same time, Miller's friends are talking about the fight between Ryan and Jake, saying that Jake is very weak. Miller doesn't like what they're saying, so she walks away. Ryan tells his friends how badly he beat Jake. Jake skips school and stays home. He looks at the box containing his father's belongings and remembers the memories they shared together. Jake is still in pain, and his younger brother Charlie takes care of him and makes him something to eat. Later, Max comes to visit Jake and check on him. He tells Jake, "You couldn't have done any better against Ryan because Ryan's father has been teaching him karate since he was a kid, but you've never been trained to fight and you need to learn some martial arts. I want to invite you to join the fighting school where I train." Max gives him a DVD and asks him to watch it. He tells Jake that he'll see the skill level of the students training under Master Rokwa, and if he trains hard enough, he'll become strong too. Even then, Jake refuses and asks Max to leave. Jake sits alone thinking about what Max said, and in the end, he decides to go to the martial arts school. Max is happy to see him and introduces him to Master Rokwa. When Rokwa notices the injuries on Jake's face, he tells him, "Anyone who comes here to learn how to fight just to get revenge never finishes the training." Jake lies to him and says, "I ran into a door." Then he insists on starting his training immediately and tells him, "I learn fast." Rokwa is surprised by his determination and agrees. He puts Jake together with the other students for weight training. The workouts are extremely intense, and even though they're very difficult for Jake, he really does learn quickly and performs very well. Then the instructor surprises him by saying, "We're just getting started." After that, he orders the students to begin submission training. Jake underestimates his opponent because he is much lighter than him, but his opponent takes him down to the ground within seconds. Jake refuses to tap out to the point that he loses consciousness. Rokwa wakes him up and tells him, "You should have tapped out, but I liked your performance. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And the most important rule here is that no matter what happens, don't get into a fight outside this gym or I'll throw you out." After that, Jake leaves with Max and they're both very happy with the training. That night, Jake is surprised when Miller comes to his house. She tells him, "I'm sorry for inviting you to the party." But Jake is convinced that she was the reason the fight happened and that she lured him to the party so Ryan could beat him up in front of everyone at school. She feels guilty and tells him, "I didn't know this was going to happen, but you wanted to fight him too. What really bothers you is that you lost." She also tells him that she transferred to this school a month ago. On her first day, she met Ryan, who was already well known and made a lot of things easier for her, but Jake doesn't accept her apology or feel moved by her story. She can't find anything else to say, so she leaves. The next day, Jake is waiting outside the martial arts school before it even opens. Rokwa tells him, "Your training doesn't start for another hour." Jake replies, "I want to train longer." Rokwa has him train on the punching bag and teaches Jake different martial arts techniques. He tells him to throw 3 punches followed by a kick so that he mixes up his attacks. He also tells him that the most important thing is to control his breathing because he keeps forgetting to breathe, and if he doesn't breathe properly, his strikes will become weak. Rokwa then demonstrates the technique himself, and with a single kick, he sends the heavy punching bag swinging far away. After that, Jake follows all of the instructor's instructions. Then he joins the group training with the rest of the students. Rokwa's training is never easy, but as the days pass, Jake improves tremendously, and Rokwa is very pleased with his progress. At the same time, Miller is no longer happy with Ryan. Jake returns home, and his mother tells him that his younger brother Charlie had a tennis match that day. Unfortunately, it was a difficult match for him, and he needs Jake's support. She asks him to come and cheer Charlie on in his upcoming matches. Then she asks Jake if he withdrew $200 from his account. When Jake tells her that he did, she asks him what he spent the money on, but Jake refuses to tell her that he spent it on his training because he knows she doesn't want him getting into fights again. She opens his bag, finds a pair of boxing gloves, and realizes that he has been training to fight. She orders him not to go back to training, and Jake doesn't respond. Meanwhile, Master Rokwa wakes up, and it turns out that he lives at the martial arts school and doesn't have a home. He spends all his time training. After being absent for a long time, Jake returns to school. The teacher divides the students into groups to write an assignment about that day's lesson, and puts Jake and Miller in the same group, but the two of them disagree with each other, then walk away in opposite directions. Later, Miller goes to talk to Ryan and tells him, "You told me you were only going to have a light fight with Jake." Ryan is surprised that she wants to end their relationship just because he beat up a stranger. As Miller walks away, Ryan grabs her arm tightly. She yells at him and tells him to let go. Jake steps in and orders Ryan to stop. Ryan tells him, "You're just as weak as your father." Jake gets angry and goes to take out his frustration during training, but he is distracted and can't focus. When he spars with Rokwa, Rokwa easily takes him down, puts him in a submission hold, and tells him to go home and calm down. Max takes Jake away and the two of them leave together. Jake keeps thinking about what his instructor told him. Then a car pulls up behind them and keeps honking. Jake gets even angrier and walks over to the driver, but the driver is with two of his friends. Jake manages to beat all three of them by himself, while Max records the whole fight. The video is uploaded to the internet, gets a huge number of views, spreads among young people and the city's residents, and Jake becomes famous at school. Ryan's friends start talking about the video, then they see Miller standing and talking to Jake. She is only trying to be nice to him, but Jake walks away. Ryan assumes that the two of them have started dating. When Jake walks into the restroom, Ryan follows him inside, attacks him, knocks him to the floor, and pins his neck down with his foot. Ryan says, "Do you really think I'm impressed because you beat up 3 weak guys? I've won the beatdown tournament twice. If you think you're strong, then enter the tournament so I can destroy you." Before leaving, Ryan kicks Jake in the leg. Jake limps away because of the injury and asks Max about the beatdown tournament. Max shows Jake a video of Ryan competing in the tournament and tells him that it's held every year to find the best fighter in the state. Jake decides to enter the tournament so he can get revenge on Ryan. After that, Jake goes to the martial arts school, but Roqua orders him to take off his gloves. He notices the marks on Jake's hands from the fight and tells him, "You got into a fight outside the gym, which means you're expelled." Jake quietly leaves. Back at home, it turns out that Charlie got into a fight too and has an injury on his face. Their mother blames Jake because Charlie looks up to him and copies everything he does. She tells Jake that he is supposed to set a good example. Charlie then tells her, "I lied to you. A tennis ball hit me in the face, and I thought it would be better to say I got into a fight." It becomes clear that Charlie has been copying Jake's behavior. Later, Jake wants to return to training with Roqua, but Roqua shuts the gym door in his face. That night, Jake and Max wait outside the martial arts school until Roqua leaves. Roqua eventually heads to the supermarket, so Jake follows him and finally speaks honestly. Jake tells him, "I lied to you at first. I didn't run into a door. A guy at school beat me up, and I joined your school because I wanted to learn how to fight and beat the person who defeated me." Jake then tells Roqua that he blames himself for his father's death. On the day his father died, he had been drunk. He took the car keys from Jake, drove while intoxicated, crashed into a tree, and died. Jake says he has always blamed himself because he believes he should have stopped his father from driving. Ever since then, he has felt that he let his mother and brother down and has lived with constant guilt over his father's death. He tells Roqua that the only time he doesn't feel miserable is when he is training with him. After hearing all of that, Roqua forgives Jake and tells him that he will see him tomorrow. Jake is overjoyed and thanks him. The next day, Jake begins intense training. Roqua gives him a special training program designed just for him. Jake trains day and night, both at the gym and at home. His strength keeps increasing every day, and he starts eating the proper diet to support his training. Roqua focuses especially on submission techniques, and Jake eventually becomes even faster than Roqua himself. During a break, Jake asks Roqua about his life and his family. Roqua tells him, "When I was young, my father moved from Senegal to Brazil. My father loved my younger brother Joseph very much. Joseph was a much stronger fighter than I was. One day, Joseph and I were at a nightclub when a stranger started yelling at him. Joseph punched the man, and the man felt humiliated. He left, but 10 minutes later he came back with several men and shot my brother to death. After that, I couldn't go back to my father because I couldn't protect my brother. Since then, I left Brazil, came here, and I haven't seen my family in 7 years." Jake is deeply moved by Roqua's story. Then he goes back to training, and Roqua continues teaching him different submission techniques. When Jake returns home, he finds a message from his mother telling him that she is at Charlie's tennis match. Jake goes to the match and learns from his mother that Charlie is losing. Jake starts cheering for his brother, which lifts Charlie's spirits. Their mother is happy to see Jake supporting him and tells Jake, "I want our family to be better." Jake replies, "Everything is going to be okay." Later, Jake goes to make things right with Miller. He admits that he treated her badly and she forgives him. The two of them become close again. Meanwhile, Jake's mother goes to the martial arts school to meet Roqua and asks him what he thinks of Jake. Roqua tells her that Jake is a very good fighter and that his anger calms down whenever he trains there. She is happy to hear that and appreciates everything Roqua is doing to help Jake. Before leaving, she pays for an extra month of Jake's training. Later, Max finds out that Jake has been accepted into the beatdown tournament. He goes to tell Jake and says the tournament starts tomorrow night. But Jake decides not to compete because that's exactly what Ryan wants, and he refuses to do anything Ryan wants him to do. After that, Miller comes over to Jake's house, and the two of them practice boxing together while enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, Ryan is training at his house. He gets angry with his father for forcing his friends to drink alcohol, so his father slaps him and says, "Don't try to show off your strength to me. If you want to prove how strong you are, then win the beatdown tournament." Later, Ryan is shocked when his friends tell him that Jake is no longer planning to enter the tournament, so he starts thinking of a way to force Jake to compete. After that, Ryan approaches Max as he's leaving the martial arts school. He invites Max over to his house to teach his friends the techniques he has been learning and training. Max falls into the trap, agrees to go, and heads to Ryan's house. Max starts demonstrating the training techniques to Ryan's friends, but they mock him and tell him to shut up. Ryan then asks Max to spar with him, but instead he brutally beats Max in the face, leaving him with serious injuries. At the same time, Jake, Charlie, and Miller are sitting together playing cards. Then someone knocks on the front door. Jake opens it and sees that Ryan and his friends have left Max at the doorstep before driving away. Jake rushes to check on Max and takes him to the hospital. Max's condition is very serious. Miller wants to call the police, but Jake refuses, leaves her behind, and walks away. Jake then decides that he will enter the tournament to get revenge on Ryan. He goes to pick up Max's car, but Roqua sees him and asks, "How's Max?" Jake tells him that Max is in the hospital. Roqua replies, "It looks like you're thinking about revenge, but if you choose revenge, you'll never train at my school again. I forgave you once, and I won't forgive you a second time." Jake tells him, "I'm entering the tournament to get revenge on Ryan. Sometimes we have to fight to get what we want." Roqua gives him a few words of encouragement and wishes him good luck. After that, Jake takes out his father's old jersey and puts it on because he wants to wear it during the tournament. He gets into Max's car and drives to the venue. At the entrance, one of Ryan's friends lets him inside. Jake registers his name and asks to fight Ryan. The tournament rules state that every strike is allowed except attacks to the eyes. The tournament begins with the first two fighters, and Jake watches the match while seeing how strong the competitors are. Then Ryan, the two-time defending champion, arrives and everyone welcomes him. A match between Jake and Ryan is about to begin, and both of them get ready to fight, but the referee steps in and announces that there has been a change, and Ryan will not be fighting Jake. Ryan is scheduled to fight another opponent first. Ryan looks at Jake and says, "Don't worry, I'll get to you later." Ryan enters the match and wins it with ease. Meanwhile, Jake takes a hard shot to the stomach and suffers another heavy blow from his opponent. Jake manages to lock in a submission hold and wins the fight with difficulty, earning his spot in the semifinals. The entire crowd applauds him, but he is still in pain from the injury to his stomach, so he puts ice on it. Miller comes over to check on him and tells him, "I've realized that sometimes you have to fight for the people you love. If you fight now, you won't have to fight later." She encourages him to keep fighting and win. After that, Ryan competes in his semi-final match. He wants to end the fight as quickly as possible, so he uses an illegal move and secretly gouges his opponent's eye without anyone noticing. Ryan wins the match and advances to the final. However, the referee notices the injury to the opponent's eye and immediately disqualifies Ryan from the tournament. Jake then walks out to fight his next match, but when he learns that Ryan has been thrown out of the tournament, he decides to withdraw as well, because the only reason he entered was to fight Ryan. He leaves the venue with Miller, but Ryan follows them outside and tries to provoke Jake. Jake tells him, "I'm willing to fight you right here, but unfortunately there's no one here to watch us, and that's the only thing you care about, so I'm sure you won't agree." Suddenly, Ryan charges at Jake and punches him, and their final fight begins. The crowd rushes outside to watch the fight as the two of them battle in a real street fight. Ryan keeps targeting Jake's injury with precision. Miller breaks down and keeps cheering Jake on to get back up. Ryan grabs Jake by the neck and squeezes as hard as he can. As always, Jake refuses to give up, but he begins to lose consciousness. At that moment, he remembers every important person in his life. That gives him the strength to keep fighting. He turns the fight around, lands a powerful punch to Ryan's face, and defeats him. The crowd erupts in cheers for Jake, and Max is overjoyed when he learns that Jake has won. Several days later, Jake and Max arrive at school. Ryan and Jake greet each other, and there is no longer any hostility between them. Meanwhile, Master Roqua decides to close the martial arts school and return to his family in Brazil. Finally, Jake and Miller confess their love for each other, and the movie ends.